This is Terry Swoope, and this is a movie review for the Netflix movie, The Perfection. Now, some of Netflix movies are hit and miss. Sometimes they will have a good movie, and then sometimes their movies are just awful. But this movie is kind of in between. I thought the first half of this movie was really good, and then the second half of the movie wasn't so good. The movie stars Allison Williams. This is the woman that played in Get Out. She played the girlfriend in Get Out. The girlfriend who manipulated this black boy to come home with her white family, and they tried to kill him and steal his mind and his body. That was a good movie. And this movie also stars Logan Browning, the beautiful, sexy Logan Browning. Now, this movie is about a young white girl who's a cello player, and she's a very promising cello player. Well, she has to stop playing the cello to go home and take care of her mother. And her career is put on hold. And after several years, she returns back to being a cello player. But she finds out that this black girl has taken her throne as the best female cello player in the world. And she's jealous of this black girl's success. So she decides to do something to bring down her fame, to bring down her reign of being the best cello player in the world. So she gets into this lesbian relationship with her. She earns her trust, and then eventually she takes her on this trip where she drugs her, and she convinces her to chop her arm off. And one of the reasons why she gets her to chop her arm off is because the drug that she drugs her with causes hallucinations. And these hallucinations make it feel like you have bugs all over your body. You have bugs crawling inside of you. You have bugs crawling. And then she has all these bugs crawling on her hand. But it's all in her head. It's not really happening. It's the drug causing her to think this. And she pulls out this big ass hatchet and tells her to chop her arm off. And she does it. It's so ridiculous. She just takes this motherfucker and just chops her damn arm off. It's ridiculous. And then after that, she goes home, and then they go their separate ways. But later on in the movie, the black girl comes back for her revenge. Her name is Lizzie. She breaks in her apartment. She tases her and kidnaps her and brings her back to the cello teacher named Anton. And it turns into a shit show after that. This is what I'm talking about the first half of the movie being good and the second half of the movie just being awful. This movie is a mixed bag. The Anton, the cello teacher, is like a pedophile who molests young girls and takes advantage of them. And they kind of patch things up, but yet they go after the cello teacher when the cello teacher had nothing to do with the main plot of the movie. So the movie goes into a completely different direction the second half of the movie. That's what made no sense to me. Like I said, the first half of this movie is really good. But the second half of the movie, it just turns into a whole nother movie that makes no sense. From 1 to 10, I would give this movie a 5. Rotten Tomatoes has this movie ranked at 73%. I would not give this movie a 73%. I think Rotten Tomatoes has this movie ranked too high. In my opinion, this movie is a 50%, maybe a 55% at the most. It's not a bad movie. Everything about the movie is not bad. But the second half of the movie is just, it makes no sense. Now, some people may like this movie, some people may dislike it, but I would give it a try. I mean, everybody has different tastes on movies and what they like and what they don't like. But in my opinion, this movie could have been a lot better if they would have put more emphasis on the second half of the movie instead of the first half of the movie. Because usually when you watch most thriller movies, when you watch most horror movies, the first half of the movie is stale, and then the second half of the movie is where all the action happens. But in this movie, all the action happens the first half of the movie. And then the second half of the movie, it turns into a completely different story, which doesn't match the first half of the movie. So that's my problem with the movie. I'm not going to tell the whole story. I'm not going to spoil it for people that haven't seen it. My advice, go to Netflix and check it out. Some people may like it, some people may not like it. A lot of people have different opinions about this topic. Leave a comment, rate, and subscribe.